Hello and welcome to another episode of What's New Mama podcast. I'm Giselle and that's Amy. So today we we've been trying to do this episode for a bit, and I think other things happened, like, flooding in my living room midway, and just, I don't know, other things came up. But this episode, we're going to focus on, just the decision of becoming a stay-at-home mom or going back to work and what that's looked like for both of us because, it's hard. Both decisions are very difficult to make. And I know no matter what, it's like you still feel guilty one way or another. You still feel, at least for me, let me speak for myself. I can't speak for you or anybody else. But I still felt because I was a stay-at-home mom for the first year and like couple of months of Derek's life. And I still felt guilty. I felt like I wasn't pulling in my share because I'm so used to working and like providing equal amounts. Not really, because Tom wouldn't let me pay for anything, but I still felt like I had my money, and if we needed anything, I could buy it, and I felt kind of security in that, which obviously if you listen to the other episodes, it's because I didn't grow up with that type of security before. Which obviously through years of therapy, I realized that's why. So I think for me, it was very difficult, but I'm very lucky. And I also acknowledge the fact that it is a privilege to be able to stay home and not work and be with your kid and watch them grow up, because not every mom has that opportunity to. Some can't even take the whole 6 weeks or whatever it is, depending on the country that you're in too. It's either 6 weeks, 6 months, or a year and a half.
I wish a year and a half.
We live in America. We live in US of A, North America, over here. So we don't get that. We get 6 weeks and it's not always paid. You can extend it, but it's not paid, and there's no job security. It's a win-win, right? For all. So it's kind of like we have this option to stay at home, but it's not really an option if you're at risk of losing your job and having, no sense of security going forward. And I've had conversations with people that don't have kids and people that do have kids. And I've even heard some people say, yeah, but if you sat down and decided to have a kid, don't you think this is something that you should have prepared for? Like, kind of like, and I understand that thought process of, yeah, of course, this is a conversation that pops up, especially when you're planning on starting a family. But sometimes it's not necessarily about planning on starting a family. Sometimes it just happens, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, surprise, what do I do now? But, and I'm not going to speak to that. That wasn't my scenario. But for me, even with the planning, it was still a lot of, I'm still going to go back to work, and I'm going to do both because I see other people that do it. If they could do it, I could do it, blah, blah, blah. Didn't take into account the debilitating postpartum depression that I was going to go through. Didn't take into account just the overall difficulty of, even if you don't go through postpartum depression, it's hard to like heal. It's hard to even just leave your baby's side. Like, I don't know. People minimize that. Some people do. And I can kind of understand how they can do that, but I couldn't. I felt so terrible, like taking a Metro North ride plus hopping on the subway. And that's going to be an hour and a half at least on a good day, to then work 8 hours, right? With the 1 hour unpaid lunch break. So 9 hours. And that's if I'm not staying there longer. And if you were like me, I was a retail manager. There were times that you had to stay there longer because an issue came up or whatever, right? You're short staffed or something. And so it was guaranteed to be over 9 hours, 10 hours of my day gone, right? Waking hours, right? Because then I get home, if it's, like nighttime or whatever, that's nap time, or not nap time. That's dinner time, if you make it to that. And then wash time, like bath time, and then bedtime. So what time am I really spending with my newborn, with my baby, with my spouse, with us as a family, if I choose to go down that route? So that was something that I obviously considered, and Tom and I had discussed, and he's like, listen, I'm going to support you with whatever you decide to do, which was also really important for me to have that kind of understanding. Like, is it okay if I do this for all of us? Is it okay if I don't do this? but I couldn't do the 14 hours, 13-hour, like waking hours away. And that was before the postpartum depression hit.
Yeah.
Because at that point I was like, well, maybe I can work towards it. Let me wait till after the 6 weeks and see how I feel. And then the postpartum depression hit. So it was like, oh my God, this is hard. And then that was I can't even think of doing anything right now. So that was my kind of experience on top of me learning. So I felt a lot of pressure. I don't know about you, but I felt a lot of pressure and I felt like I wasn't doing enough, like being a stay-at-home mom and trying to keep up with the milestones. And should he be walking? Should he be crawling? Should he be doing this? And I felt like I was somewhat left behind because I felt like no matter what I did, it wasn't up to standard or up to the expectation. Even though we would go to the pediatrician, we would go to the people, they're like, oh my God, he's already doing this. And I'm like, yeah, but is that like not the norm? I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I just always felt like I wasn't doing enough being at home. I felt like I should have put him in daycare, or I should have put him, to be exposed with other kids so that he can learn and develop quicker. So I had to get over that hump a little bit and obviously heal mentally, emotionally, physically with the postpartum to then finally say, okay, I think I'm ready to jump back in to the workforce. But I had to officially kind of quit my old job because they weren't working with me. Like I tried to work with them. I was like, maybe I can transfer to a closer location that would be closer to where I live. It would be like a 25-minute commute. They denied it and they were like, nope, either you do this or we decide to part ways, right? So that was kind of where I was left at, which really upset me because I was happy where I was and I liked the company. But whatever, it just wasn't a good fit for the person you are now for what you're doing. Which I understand. Yeah. Like it was me that had a change in my life and my decision. It wasn't the company. So like, I understand we just don't fit anymore.
That's right.
Which is fine. But then when I was ready to finally interview, I was like, all right, what are the boxes that I need in order for me to be okay
and for this to work out,
going back to work? Yeah. Right. And for this to work out. So I wanted something that was remote or fully remote or partially. And I wanted something that I could do things like this, like wear my hair naturally and not have to worry about straightening it, because I have spoken to other moms, and not necessarily other moms, other women that feel the pressure of that professional look is straightening your hair, having to look like very, for lack of a better word, it's just like, I don't know, like I can't even
put together, more put together.
The term. Well, that's the idea, right? But it's like, this is my natural hair. So if I wear it like this, it's not that I'm not
put together,
making an effort or putting it put together. Like I could throw on a suit, I could throw on a nice dress and some heels and do my makeup really nicely, and this should be acceptable.
Yeah.
But the reality for me, and I know other women, that even though they've passed these laws to protect women against discrimination like that, I know that's not the reality. I've even had bosses tell me like, oh, like when I wear my hair a certain way, meaning like blown out or like neatly in a bun and all that stuff. They're like, oh, I like this look. It's very clean, neat, put together. Yeah. But I kind of dealt with it. I was younger. I didn't know any better. I didn't know that I had rights, And I also I didn't come to terms with this either when I was younger, like with the fact that this is my natural hair. So I needed a place where I could do this and feel comfortable on top of being remote and understanding that family is my priority. And I'm getting this job in order to provide for them. Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, then I can find another one. So I went through a couple of interviews and I finally found a job that, worked out. I meshed well with the manager and the company values and all that stuff. And it's been good so far, yeah. And I even go on meetings and interviews sometimes where Derek is like, come pick me up. He's not saying that, but he's putting his arms up and I have to grab him. And my manager, it was like a zone meeting, a zone call. And it's like over, I don't know, like 100 people. And my manager's conducting, well, one of my managers is conducting the meeting, and he sees Derek and I, and he's like, oh, hi, Derek, in the middle of the interview, like not the interview, in the middle of the meeting. He's like, hi, Derek, how you doing? And I'm like, oh my God. Cause at first I was dreading it. I was like, oh my God, is somebody going to say something? But to have that, I was like, oh my God, I made the right decision. You know, it just kind of solidified it for me. And I wanted to do the podcast for a while, which I know I spoke to you about since like the summertime. And I needed to find something that would also allow me to focus on my hobbies and the things that I want to do for me. So this kind of allows me to do that. And I've never had the opportunity to do something like this because working retail management, there are no weekends. Okay. There is no 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's all over the place type of schedule. And then you do feel guilty. You're made to feel guilty if you do take a whole weekend off or, you know, vacation or whatever. So I'm fortunate and I'm glad that I'm at a point where I can do that. But it took a while to get here. And this seems to be a good match. And I would say for anybody else out there that's like contemplating going back to work and all that stuff, I went through a lot of interviews, like a lot of like over 100 applications that I put through. And I think what I learned from it is don't settle for anything that's not going to fit what you want out of your daily life, because you'll find something. There are tons of companies out there that want whatever it is that you have to bring to the table. But if you're settling for something that's not a complete match, I think, you know, you're going to take up that spot with that company. So try and hold off if you can. Because I also understand that is a privilege in itself too.
To be able to find like something, take the time.
To pick and choose. Right. Because sometimes you need to get something. Right. But you know, that was my experience, and you know, I'm still learning and I'm trying to balance it all, which is not the easiest. Some days are harder, some days are easier than others, but I have a really understanding boss that if I need help, or like this week, Derek is sick. He had a fever. Then I got sick, which I'm still a little bit sick and he's still a little bit sick. But my boss understands. He's like, listen, take the day off. If you need the day off, take it off. Yeah. This is not life or death. You're not we're not doctors in the ER trying to like save lives here. Take the day off. Do whatever you need to do. Which is really nice. And I've never worked at a place where I've had that. I've worked at places that I've had really good managers, but the company values and the company policies or things like that had their hands tied. Like the manager had their hands tied. They're like, I would love to, but I can't accommodate whatever it is, right? Whether it's like bereavement, like I've had issues with like I had to attend a funeral or something along those lines, and I couldn't because the company just doesn't have the policies to support the employee like that. But yeah, that was my experience. And again, if it were up to Tom, like he would have been like, you could have stayed home. Like, why did you go back to work? But I needed that. Yeah, you do. I did it for me. For me, like I felt like I was incomplete. And it's not to minimize my child or any other mom that does stay home. But I think, and as people that are listening are starting to get to know me, and you're starting to know really like my backstory. My identity was tied to work. My identity was tied to whatever it is that I was doing. And from a really young age, I've had to work. And so I didn't know anything else but that. Yeah. And so I felt like even if it was a part-time, even if I had to go work at Trader Joe's, I don't care. I just felt like I needed to go find something to like get out and know I'm working, getting a paycheck. And then I'm also coming back home and working, because this doesn't end. Yes. There is no time off. There is no vacation. There is no harder job than being a mother, being a parent, a full-time parent. There is no part-time parenting, you know, like, so I think it was just important for me, for my personality to fulfill like that bucket of myself. I needed to like go down that route. So I don't know. I'm kind of getting lost in my words there, but
it's all right.
I hope that makes sense.
I know everyone's probably like, I get where you're coming from, because I'm starting to feel that urge to go back to work a little bit. It's been close to 6 years now for me that I've been home.
Yeah.
And it's like, my dad, I'm so sorry. I'm going to start crying because it upsets me. My dad always tells me, why don't you go out and get a job? Why are you home? And it always upsets me because this is, I did choose this, but it was kind of like we didn't have an option. I didn't want to commute 2 hours every day back and forth,
Right.
and then have to miss the day with my kid. And it's like I did get 20 weeks off, and they were all paid. I took advantage of everything because I was on the fence of whether or not I was going to stay home, because I knew it was just not going to be the same for me, because I love to work and I really enjoy it. But you know, I just we were just like, fine, I'm going to stay home, and it worked out fine. And this is probably why I didn't want to talk about this, and we've been trying to record it, but I've been having a hard time kind of with the stay at home, because
processing it all.
My dad makes me feel really bad, and I can't believe I still let him get into my head after all these years. And it's like, he does a really good job at that, because you know how parents are, and it's like little comments that he'll say here and there, and it's like, I love him, but it really makes me feel really bad that I've stayed home all these years. It's like, he's like, why don't you go back to school, or why don't you do this? And it's like, but I'm not sitting on my ass here. I'm not doing anything. I'm with the kids. I have to keep them entertained. I have to feed them. I have stuff to do at home too. We can't just let the house fall apart. And having a home is very difficult as well, because there's other things we have to worry about, the upkeep and just keeping an eye on things. And he's just like,
it's a lot. He
just makes it seem like I'm not doing anything, and that really upsets me. So I've been at home I'm so sorry. I'm like really embarrassed. I'm like crying because
we can cut this out if you want to cut this out.
I've been kind of holding it in a little bit, but it's like, it's been very hard for me. It's been 6 years. And my thing is, when I go back to work, when I sit down in an interview, what am I going to tell these people I've been doing for 6 years? It's like, my dad's not the only
all
one.
That you've been doing.
My dad's not the only one who has that mentality, you know?
I know.
I'm like, well, you've been sitting at home for 6 years. What have you done to better yourself?
But that dialogue that you're saying right now, that's not your dialogue. That's not the dialogue or the mentality of the employer that you want.
Yeah,
that's the dialogue of your dad.
I have to do
that's
some
your
digging,
dad's
and I'm
words.
pretty sure somebody's going to say something stupid, you know, when I go out there. It's just, for me, it's I don't know how hard it's going to be, because I'm in a field that requires me to be present all the time, obviously. So it's like I won't be able to find that flexibility. Maybe a 4-day week is probably the most they can do for me. But I don't know. I'm just gonna have to search. I'm gonna have to search too.
But see, here's the thing that like we minimize, right? And you know, I'm sorry, because we've spoken about this before, about something your dad said about it. I'm sorry that one, he says things like that, and two, that this is how deeply like it impacts you, and they don't even realize, right? Like my mom says shit like that, but like she doesn't even realize how much it bothers me, right? And I think a big part of it is just, you know how qualified you are, right? You know your certifications, you know how talented you are. That's what you have to stick to. And being a stay-at-home mom, you know how much you have to juggle? Scheduling, you're taking care of 2 people to make sure they're alive on top of you, and making sure that the house doesn't fall apart if there's something going wrong. Like I know you told me that there's something happened with the boiler, or like the tank. Like these are all things that you're taking care of. And when you're talking and you're sitting down with an employer, they are going to ask you, hey, what's this gap in your resume? But there's a valid explanation. Hey, I decided to raise my family and stay home, whether it's a man or a woman in front of you. Some may understand it, some may not. But whatever it is that they tell you, and whatever reaction it is that they give you, that's going to tell you a lot about that employer and that company. And then that's going to give you the opportunity to say, I do or I don't want to work with these people, and I don't want to be a part of this team, or I do want to be a part of this team. And you will find it. It's just, you have to actually be ready to like go into it. And I know the kids are a little bit older. Like Derek is very young.
Yeah.
So it's a little, you got to enjoy those years. And obviously, like, you were there for those pivotal moments. But if you do feel the urge to go back and try and like get into the field, go and try. Like I feel like, and I am sorry if I'm like stumbling. I just feel like you're going to get the yeses or the nos. But if it's something that you want out of your life, then try it.
Yeah.
And don't even talk to your dad about it. Don't even tell him until like, if you want to, if you're like, you do find something. But I think it's also interesting. I was going to ask you, does your mom say things like that?
Oh no, my mom does it. My mom actually, she worked with us the whole time. Like she did, she wasn't a stay-at-home actually at all. She worked at the school that we went to, which was another story.
So that's a difference though.
So she would see us all the time, but because she was working at the school. But she doesn't say things like that.
So that's the difference.
She's always like,
of course
she's
not.
like, tú lo tienes bueno. You got a man that takes care of you. He loves you. He gave you those children. And she's like, she was like, I wouldn't want to work either. So it's like a totally different, I got a totally different spin on it from her. She's just like, whatever, don't listen to that viejo is what she says.
But that's what I mean. Like, that's what I wanted to highlight.
My mom,
he's saying it from his perspective.
Because he spent money, obviously, for me to go to school. And he's like, he always wanted to be an engineer. So it was like, that didn't happen for him. And it happened for me. So it was just like,
he's living vicariously. So he was trying to live vicariously through you.
Why did you drop that? Like I want you to keep working. And I'm like, yeah, it's not like it's gone to waste. I worked for like a good 5 years. I was in a good position. I made good money, but he doesn't see it that way. And it's just frustrating a little bit. Yeah.
Of course. But it's also one of those careers that even if you do have a gap like that, you can go back and pick up right where you left off.
I've had a couple people reach out, like old bosses. They're like, okay, yeah, let's regroup. And I would love for you to come and work for me again. So it's not too bad. And I've had other people who are like, if you ever want to get back to work, let me know. I have an in so-and-so place and, I'll get you an interview.
Yeah.
It's very flexible, but all of them is in the city. I'm not commuting 2 hours,
Yeah.
So I just got to look around. I think I'm not ready to because Milo's still 2. I don't want to put him in preschool yet. Maybe when he turns 4. Yeah. I'll get back to you guys on that when he turns 4 and I'm back to, searching for something new to do. Because I'm afraid it's going to have to, I don't know if it's going to be like a whole new career change, which is what kind of like I'm dreading on the low. Kind of like maybe I won't be doing what I was doing before. It'll probably be something
maybe
like,
a variation of it.
I could spin it into something else. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think you definitely can find something once you're ready.
Yeah.
I think the fear or like, it's unfortunate that like we let those words live in our brain, like in our head, like the things that our parents say, because it's obviously affecting you. And it's like, and like, it's in your head all the time, no matter what you do. Yeah. And this is coming from somebody, it was a different time. He's probably like, oh, well, how your mom worked and your mom like still raised you guys, but it was a different time. Yeah. Like she was working at the school that you guys were going to. I didn't even know
they were struggling. We were a family of 5. So it's like they needed to, both of them needed to work to bring money in because we were a lot. So
and so they also don't understand. Well, your dad also doesn't understand the fact that you are in a position where you can be home and it's okay, and you have that career and that diploma and that credibility that if you did decide to go back whenever you did, you can. Like that opportunity is not gone. It's not thrown out the window. It's just
it's on the back
he looks
burner.
at it like, why aren't you doing it?
So
right?
But he doesn't see it that way, and I find it strange because usually those people back then are like, oh, be a stay-at-home mom, it's fine. I don't know. I don't know why he's a little bit different with that. Maybe because he paid money towards everything. Because he wasted money and he's just
that and because he wanted it for himself. He wanted that career too. So he's looking at it as like, you have what I want. You take advantage of it, live your life how I want it to live my life.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry that's how. I mean, I knew it was on your mind and I knew it was something that was bothering you. I just didn't know.
Yeah. I didn't know that either till like when I talk about it,
You
it's
started
like, oh
talking
my
about
God, it does bother me. So
it's like, this is a therapy
yeah, I'm
session.
like,
This
it
is
does
very
bother me.
therapeutic. I'm telling
And
you.
hopefully people out there know like, oh my gosh, she's so messed up.
No,
Because I did see
I mean, if that's the
one of our
case
followers did write back that she also had that problem. Like, you know, why are you a stay-at-home mom? And she had
with the,
she's actually she's a girl I went to school with, high school with.
okay.
And she also commented on like something that we talked about like in a couple episodes back where I mentioned it, like, you know, that's a big thing. People make it seem like it's a stigma to stay home. And, you know, she was like, yeah, I also felt kind of guilty staying home. And, you know, I felt bad.
Yeah.
Which you shouldn't feel bad. You shouldn't feel bad. You're doing good things too, staying at home. You don't have to go back to work.
Yeah.
But if you do go back to work, that's great.
And
I mean, I wish I could go back to work.
no, but you know what? And even the whole degree thing, you know how many people have degrees and aren't using it?
I know.
I'm not using I'm technically not using my degree for what I'm doing, but my degree, I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I didn't want to, because I was paying for everything myself and going into debt myself. So I knew whatever I had to pick, I had to make it flexible enough to like fit different categories. So I had to I picked psychology and philosophy. So technically I'm kind of using it, right? Because I'm dealing with people and products and things like that. But if it were something as specific as engineering, right? For you could take that, even though it's a very specific thing, but you can literally take that. You can go anywhere in the world, whether you have kids or not, and you can make 6 figures automatically.
I don't even see the big deal. I'm an environmental engineer. And you know what I was doing? I was a construction manager. It's not even related. So I don't understand when he says that stuff, and I'm just like, whatever.
But again, that's also like that's an immigrant type of mentality.
You gotta like hustle to be.
You work, work. You get the American dream. It's very, very different. You know, so you also have to take that into account. And whenever you do hear that kind of seeping through, you realize like, it's just a different way of thinking. Like, it's not reality now. So I don't want you to like minimize yourself because of something that he's saying like that. And maybe eventually you guys can come to a point where you can talk about it.
Him?
Like, hey, this really bothers me. Yeah.
Stop completely.
No?
He's in his own world. No. He's
okay.
He's 72 now? Yeah, he's approaching being senile completely. He's completely like closed off to changing of his mind. There's other things that I see and I'm just like,
I'm not even gonna bother.
Even talking about it. No.
Yeah. Well, we have to come to terms with the fact that we can't change our parents. Like, we just have to make peace with who they are and the way that they think, and we have to set up the boundaries enough so that they don't mess up whatever it is that we have going on or what we work towards. You know, my mom and she still says things nowadays that I'm like, like I FaceTimed her with the baby the other day and she's talking to Derek and she's like, ay, my hair was like this. She was like, ay, pero tu mamá se parece una bruja hoy and blah, blah, blah because of my hair.
Yeah,
and it's shit like that kind of like it stings and it gets me.
You just want to turn off the phone, right? Like hang up, just like.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, that hurts my feelings still a little bit, you know, but whatever. Like I'm like, okay, we gotta go. It's dinner time. And she's like, bueno, okay, está bien. And she knows, like, she realized because I can't let your words like dictate how I feel about myself anymore. Like I can't do it. And I don't know. I look at you and I would go to you for advice on certain things. And I'm like, how does Amy do this? This is so hard. And like being a stay-at-home mom, it's so fucking hard. Like it's exhausting. And then you can't really ask for a break, even though you need a break because there's overstimulation and then there's noise, the TV, the kids are yelling and all this stuff that in a regular work environment, you get a break.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
I
do.
need to go take my
Yeah.
15. I need to take my 30. I need to take my hour, whatever it is. Hey, can you cover me real quick? I'm going to go to the bathroom. Here, you can't even go to the bathroom. The kids are putting their hands underneath the door and trying to open up the
Oh, you
door.
get them
Like,
behind the door. Okay. No, mine sits inside. He sits
so
inside. And
exactly.
now it's more like, ew, mom, that
Exactly.
smells. What are you doing, doo-doo? And I'm just like, dude, like, thanks.
What
He
are
did
you
that.
doing?
What were we? Where were we? Yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yesterday at the museum. I was like, all right, babe, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I give him my
Yeah.
book bag and all this stuff. These two little assholes. They're walking right next to me. I gotta go to the bathroom, Sienna says. I was like, all right, fine. And then the little one, I gotta go to the bathroom too, is what he says. And I'm like, first of all, you're 2 years old. I haven't finished potty training you. So you don't have to go to the bathroom. I have to change your diaper. What? No, you don't. But they both come in. So I'm in the stall with them. And they're like touching everything. I'm like, can you not touch anything? It's the bathroom.
My
I'm like, it's the
God.
bathroom. Stop it. And then she has to pee first because she's like, I can't hold it. I'm like, you didn't have to go until I had to go. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, now I have to hold it while you go. And so I set her up. She goes, and then I go, Mom, I love your underwear. They're screaming this in the stall. And I'm like, thanks. Can you not tell everyone, please? And she's like telling, like, it's purple or whatever it was. I was just like, oh my God, stop.
I love your purple underwear.
I was like, oh my God, please stop, please. And then it was like, Milo was just standing there touching everything, trying to crawl. And I was like, get up. Because I remember that being like a pet peeve of mine when people would come in with their kids and the kids would be under the stall, like trying to look at you.
Under the stall.
Like, you know, they'll see you and you'll be like, what the fuck? And I was just like, get up, stop. So it's like I did like half a pee and just ran out and washed my hands. And then they all want to wash their hands too. Milo was like, I want to wash my hands too. Everything
you gotta pick them up, and then you gotta me too.
That was my experience yesterday, and I was like, oh my god. I was telling you earlier, I was telling like Victor, I was just like, I needed to bring noise canceling headsets. I can't do this. It was like a whole thing where it was like too many people. All the kids were screaming. Everybody was screaming. And I was just like, I don't want to be here. I wanted a break. I thought this was going to be a good trip.
Yeah, let me go to the car real quick. You guys stay here.
Like,
I'm going to go take a little break.
By yourself. Even though I don't think he can handle it because I see the little one running around and he's watching one.
Yeah. Can't keep up with it.
Yeah. But I was thinking about what you said earlier. I can't believe you only got 6 weeks for staying at home from work.
So I had to extend it and not get paid, not have job security.
I'm following some lady. I think she's in Germany, and she got like a year.
They get like a year and a half.
I was like,
people in Canada. I know people from Canada get a year and a half. Like what are we doing in the US?
Know, because like, you also mentioned how we're still healing, and that's a big thing because we do have it. People just like think, okay, once the baby's out, that's it. You know, you're good. No, we have a wound the size of a plate. It's this big. Yeah. In our uterus. That has to shrink back down. You know, I didn't feel like myself till about a year and a half after. Yeah. It's like, I don't know what's the rush of us having to go back to work or just getting back into society that quickly.
Well, a lot of people essentially think that that's just kind of like the lifestyle. Yeah. That is the Americanized way of, you know, once you have a kid, you just go back, and at least now, it wasn't like that in the 70s, right? In the 80s, in the earlier time. But I think, I don't know where we took a turn somewhere where it's kind of acceptable to just be like, all right, 6 weeks, and then I'm going to go back because if not, I'm going to lose my job. Get out of pushing the baby. And it's like, I've been seeing stories more often now where the women, it's like, they're not taking care of us. And they are dying when they go home because they come back and they're like either in septic shock or something happens and something takes a turn. And it's like, well, who's watching us? Because we're too busy watching the little ones, but who's watching us? Yeah. You know, we can't be looking after ourselves all the time. Like how would we, I mean, we might feel off, but if people keep rejecting us, like, okay, you're fine. You just had a baby. You're fine. Yeah. This is normal. This is normal.
People are just going to keep dying. And it's like, what happens to the baby afterwards? Like, you know, wouldn't you think you want to take care of the mom to ensure that they have someone to take care of the little baby for the rest of their lives?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I was looking at a lot of the news stories coming out lately, and it kind of sucks the way they treat us here in America. I'm like, you would think we're a third world country with the healthcare system.
The way that it's going on. Yeah, with the healthcare system
and just
is a scam.
Women's rights in general.
And then like you said, the mortality rate and all that stuff, it's even higher with African American women. So like, I remember that was one of my like anxiety like triggers when I was pregnant, because it was a matter of picking the right OBGYN, making sure that they're not dismissing, you know, like your symptoms and how you feel and all that stuff. And I think Aisha kind of, remember she spoke on like her experience, how
they were dismissive of her.
That whole diagnosis. And so I think a lot of it is just knowing when to stand up for yourself and kind of like, no. And like being an advocate for yourself and making sure that you have kind of like a support system around you, like whether it's your spouse, your partner, whatever, sister, cousin, brother, to bring to an appointment if you feel that you do need that extra support, because it's just, you don't know. It's kind of like one of those things, like you don't know what to ask if you don't know, if you've never been in this scenario before, right? You don't know what to look out for, and you're relying on these medical professionals to guide you and help you. And I think that like even in the whole part of me being a stay-at-home mom, a lot of it was, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Like whether it's something for me or for Derek, I didn't know what I was doing. And I was kind of getting lost in all these different profiles. And
oh my God, yeah, there's so much information out there.
Yeah. And that's why, like, even talking about creating a podcast, I didn't want it to be like, this is the way to do it.
Kind of giving people what to do.
Yeah, because what works for you may not work for me, and vice versa, or whatever. But I just look at it as, why don't we just talk about what we went through so that somebody else doesn't feel alone, or, you know, whatever it is. Because just finding that comfort in like, okay, so I'm not, like, I wasn't alone in that, or maybe I wasn't that wrong for thinking this or having this type of worry or stress or whatever it might be. But being a stay-at-home mom was the most challenging and the most rewarding job I've ever had. Like this whole role and title that I hold as a mother, I question myself every single day, and at different moments of every single day, not all day, every day, but different moments of every day of, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough? Am I screwing my kid up somehow? Like, and I carry that with me, like whether I'm working my regular job, right, or not. Like while I'm at working, I'm like, did I do this for Derek today? Did I make sure that Tom has this prepared for when it comes to his like lunchtime or whatever it might be? It doesn't end.
No, your mind's always racing. End. There's always, you got to be like 3-4 steps ahead of everything just to keep things going.
So like for you, like what did you do like to make your days a little bit more organized? Because organization is really key when it comes to being a stay-at-home mom and even just a working, like whatever it is, for lack of a better term. I don't know, like what's another way to say stay-at-home mom versus like, what is it, a working mom? But they're both working.
Yeah, I mean, they're both
That's
working.
The thing.
I mean, the terms
it's problematic to me. It's so problematic to me. Like, you can't say one's a stay-at-home mom and then the other one's a working mom, because they're both
talked about
working.
This before. Like, how are we going to title this?
Yeah, like how do we title this?
Without insulting anyone, because it's really not like.
But it's not even an insult.
It's not like
it's
a
like
versus kind of
capturing
thing
what it is.
One is better than the other.
Yeah.
So
it's really just, I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. But like, how did you do it? How did you finally find a groove to like organize it and like the library dates and the Gymboree sessions and the doctor appointments? And did you create a calendar? I kind of just winged it and just put things in my calendar. And just recently I started sending the calendar note to Tom, so that way it's in his calendar recently. Too. Just recently. So like almost 2 years, a year and a half
I had a calendar actually, and I would just put stuff in, like I'm going to the library here, and we're doing, we did musical munchkins, which was something that they do up here, with Sienna, and then doctor appointments, or, you know, just like random little things I would put in, that way he knew where I was at any given moment. But I think that was the only thing that we did that kept it organized for us. for me also
Okay.
was important. Like I told you, it's important to get out, even if you just walk to get fresh air and, keep because it's very isolating, very solitary for the first couple months. So it's kind of like, that's hard on us and
Yeah.
mostly, I would say. So just making sure that you got out there and got some fresh air was important.
Yeah.
Was very important. And I think that's what helped me a lot, because it was just like, I was going crazy in here. I really was. And then even now with Milo, I had Sienna here. So I would try to do play dates with her friends and the mom. So I had interaction with other adults, because that's important. You can't just cut people off, even though if you want to, because I mean, some people like to be at home. I like to be at home, but I found that was like very solitary for me. Like after a while, it was like I even forgot how to speak, and
I did
to
too.
talk to people, and I was like very like almost like rough. I don't know. It's just it wouldn't come out right.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, well, I mean, I may come off wrong, but let me just try and explain it to you. Yeah,
I would come out rough. It was strange, and I still even have that problem with people. So like I still like I come out a little rough, and it's like, man, I really need to talk to people.
It's funny because remember in the summer, was it summertime? I would go on walks. I would go to the library and then I would go on walks. I would force myself to go on walks. And then I started calling you during those walks and we would just talk about things. But that walk time, that was what I needed to keep myself sane. Even though I was just going outside, I did the library trips to make sure I could socialize Derek with other kids and all that stuff. Now that everything opened, because that was the thing, everything was locked down when I had him and all that. But I needed to talk to somebody as opposed to just like that small talk. And I was like, let me see what Amy's up to. Let me see what, and we ended up, we would be talking for like 45 minutes or an hour. Yeah. And that helped me a lot though. That helped me feel like a human being again, like an adult woman that wasn't necessarily just mommy, and obviously I have Tom here to talk, but I just kind of did. He was like, you have me here to talk to. And I was like, it doesn't count.
Like, you don't want to vent to him because he doesn't really quite understand. He doesn't see it the way you probably do or whatever.
No.
So not to say that they don't really understand, but they try to.
They try to. And that's really all you can ask for, to make an effort to try. They don't understand like how, I mean, for me, Tom never understood how depressed and stressed I would get when I would put something on and it didn't fit. And I'm like, look at my body. It's fucking disgusting. And I'm this and I'm that and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, are you kidding me? You're hot. Your butt's bigger and this and that. I'm like, and so it's like the disconnect, right? Like you're living in this world. I'm living in this world. But all of it, even like, I feel like I would vent to him. I was like, I feel like Derek isn't advancing as much as I see other kids kind of like advancing. And then the comparison tool, right? Like that will fuck anybody.
But, it's funny like, that when you compare, that you say that. I was very laid back with that stuff. Like I was like, listen, she's going to learn it. She's going to learn it with the first one. Cause I was like, whatever, she's going to learn it. She's going to learn it. I couldn't stress myself, bring myself to stress out over that for some reason. I would see it because a lot of moms would be like, well, how old is she? And then I would get, I don't know if you got in this, where
you would get defensive.
They would get like upset when I wouldn't say months, like months age, like months wise. Okay. Like I recently got asked like how old Milo was, and I was like, he's 2.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, when was he born? I was like, September. Like, why do you care? And she's like, oh, so he's 20 something months. And I was like, what the like, I don't care. Like, am I counting months here, or he's 2? So it's like it was a lot of that with the moms, like, oh, he's not supposed to be, because I think they were comparing their kids with him, and like they felt relieved because he's sitting there and he's singing songs and he's clapping, he's doing everything, and it's like their kids are not, but it's okay because the one the lady that was asking me, her son is only 19 months or 20 months or something like that. He's not even 2 yet. Yeah. So I was like, it's fine. He's not there yet because he's not there yet. Like, I'm like, he'll get there. Yeah. He's seeing Milo do it. Yeah. So maybe he'll start copying Milo. Like, just, like, that was my big thing. Like, I was just like, she's going to see it and it's going to happen. So I was like that.
See, I was the opposite. I was super, super like not strict, but I was driving myself crazy, right? Like up until 9, 10 months of Derek's life, I was like, oh my God, is he falling behind? Is he this? Is he that? I see other kids doing da da da. And I remember it was because I met Lenka. I met her at the library at like with her son Lucas, and I was like, oh my God, Lucas is so much more advanced. Am I doing something wrong? And she's like, no. She's like, they're like 4 months apart. So, but to me, 4 months is not a big deal. But she's like, no, like like 2 weeks counts as a huge leap, as a huge difference. And then finally I started getting more relaxed because I started seeing, I was like, oh my God, I would text her and I would call her, I'd be like, you were right. Like he just started, cruising and like holding on to things and walking. She's like, I told you. And in no time he'll be walking.
Yeah.
So like all of that, I was like, oh, I just need to chill out. Like, I just need to not be so hard on myself and like the expectation of it all. It's just, but which back to like your response to like what your dad said the other day, this just reminded me of it. The other day, meaning like 2 days ago, I was talking to my mom and she's like, oh, so-and-so's kid says, I don't want to say any names, but says like the name of the dad. That kid was born a day after Derek. All right. So instead of saying dada, he calls the dad by the name or like a version of the name. Right. And she's like, oh, does Derek do that? Does Derek? And she's doing the comparison. And then I know better than to jump into the comparison part, but it seeps into me. Like it seeps in. And then I'm like, should he be saying Tom? Should he be saying Giselle? But he does say my nickname. The baby does say my nickname. But I'm like, and then that triggered 2 days ago. This happened 2 days ago while I was sick and the baby was sick. And I'm like, am I doing something wrong where he's falling behind? And that moment I was like, no, whatever. That's just my mom being overly like critical and observant. And she has this mentality of she naturally compares. And I think that's just because of how she grew up and like the environment, the toxicity and all that stuff. I try not to do that. But then she seeps into my head, like the little comments. And I'm like, all right, Ma, we got to go. I got to feed him. Or I got to. No, I don't. I never do. But it sticks with me and it lingers. And then I eventually talked to Tom about it. And Tom's like, are you kidding me? He's like, he's doing all blah, 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 whatever. So I don't even know where I got into that, but you just reminded me of it. And it bothered me. So like, that's why I understand where you're coming from with those comments. And being a stay-at-home mom, when I was a stay-at-home mom and that was my identity, like my title, and I felt like all of this, I felt a pressure that I needed to live up to that title, that I felt I couldn't. I felt I didn't know how to live up to that title. I felt like no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. And I felt like, am I doing enough flashcards? Am I reading enough books to the baby and like doing all these things? And I think that was another part. It was my own insecurity of, I don't know how to fulfill this title fully. And I feel like I still need to go back to work because then I can kind of complete that thing for myself. Obviously, this is all like in my head, like crazy thoughts of insecurities that I'm letting myself get into. But have you ever had like a thought like that of being a stay-at-home mom and kind of like, what does this title mean? And am I fulfilling this title to your expectation? I should say to your expectation.
Not really. I'm just because I came in with the thought that I would learn it as I went. And like, I would adapt to whatever, just like, and I'll pick up stuff from other moms. Like I'll see, I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I'll just do it and then add it into our schedule. So no, I never really did that because I'm always like, I always tell you, I'm very chill with that stuff. Cause it's like, I already had enough stress with other things like at work and all that. And I came from like a very stressful environment that I'm just like, we'll see how it goes. Kind of thing. That's my
this will
attitude.
Just work out. Yeah,
we'll see how it goes because obviously I'm a first time mom and I'm like, I don't know everything. I mean, I could read as many books as I possibly can, but there's always going to be some curveball. So it's like, what's the point? Like, why am I going to stress myself out and pull my hair out if he's not doing something or she's not doing anything, you know, like whatever. Like I still like learning, like for instance, and I was going to tell you this story. I was it 2 weeks ago? Was it Valentine's Day? Right. So we get like an email from the teacher, and she's like, oh, Valentine's Day is coming up. We're going to do a party in the class. Have your kids bring in Valentines. And I'm like, cool, Valentines. Okay. And I'm like, in my stupid ass mentality, because I'm thinking, I'm an 80s baby. For Valentine's Day, we used to do little cards, and just get those out. Okay, so that's what I sent Sienna in with.
Those were so cute. Those little tiny cards.
Tell me why Sienna comes back with a bag full of Valentines. Everybody made goodie bags. Hello? Everybody made goodie bags. Every single parent, 24 kids, bought in goodie bags with candy, Valentine's Day cards, stickers, games, pencils, and I sent her with the Valentines. And I was like, what the?
I love those little cards, though.
I wasn't expecting it. And I was like, well, mom failed because, first of all, like, who the hell? I was like, this teacher needs to be more descriptive. And I was like,
yeah, she didn't send a detailed thing.
She just said, send your Valentines in. And everybody came in with a Valentine goodie bag, like we were having a birthday party. And I'm like,
gotcha.
I was supposed to buy 24 Valentine goodies. Like, what? I thought it was just a card. And then I sent her, like, they asked us to bring like a shoebox, and I gave her like this tiny little shoebox. Nothing fit in her shoebox. She had to bring it all in like a bag. And I felt so stupid. I was like, oh, well, mental note, next year. I got to get the good, ask questions, bring whatever it is. But I was like, oh my God, when did the times change? That's another thing. It's like, whatever you think
it's going to be outdated information.
It's like, you got to ask around, because people are doing way too much. If you ask me, that was way too much. I'm like, really? All this? All I did was have her sign her name on all the cards, and that's what she gave in. I was like, oh, well, that's what they got. They probably think, damn, Sienna's mom's a cheap ass lady. And I'm like, it was Valentine cards, nothing else. Why everybody gave goodie?
Also, I'm surprised that they allowed the candy and all that stuff to be brought in, because of nowadays they're like, no kid has like peanut allergies.
They're very strict about those, and they always tell you no peanut stuff or whatever. But a lot of parents, they sent a lot of stuff in. I was surprised, and I was just like, I felt really stupid. And I told Vic, I was like, yo, what the hell? And he's like, well, she said Valentine's cards. I thought the same thing. So, I mean, we're almost the same age. So it's like, we didn't think anything of it. And I was just like, what?
I would have done the same exact thing.
Ask questions, or I would send her with a goodie bag for every student in the class. So I was like, wow, everyone's just doing the most here. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of that. A lot of like, I feel like that's usually what I come across. I think
about it, and it's like, I went to school in, Morningside Heights. So it's like, we're not the most affluent neighborhood. And it's like, obviously, if you send your kid with a Valentine's cards for the other kids, that was like the biggest thing. And like, I'm up here in like, I hate to say it, but I'm in White City. And it's like, these people are like, they throw everything.
They go the extra
mile.
I'm in a
pretty good area. So it's like, they go crazy. And I'm just like, all right, I got to get with it, because I'm thinking down over there, Manhattan.
Back in the day. Yeah. So, you're thinking back in the day, different resources, different.
I don't know. I don't know. But that caught me off guard. And I was like, let me tell Giselle about this, because she's going to need to know for Derek.
Thank you for giving me the heads up. I'll ask questions.
If they send you with anything, just ask questions. Ask questions. It never hurts to ask questions.
What is this going to look like? What are the expectations? How many do you need me to bring?
I messed up on this one.
I'm not there yet, obviously, but I gotta put that on my notes.
Yeah,
and those are not things that I'm used to.
It's like that's another thing. Packing lunch. Everybody brings lunch. I was cool with her just eating the school lunch.
Yeah,
but
you have to bring lunch.
I mean, because they make you pay for lunch, obviously, and I was ready to pay for lunch. I wasn't going to make lunch every day.
Is that like looked down upon now if you do school lunch instead of bringing your own lunch?
They have this thing. I don't know. I think the teacher just does it so the kids know what they're supposed to be doing. She has like a list of everybody who bought lunch and everyone who's going to eat school lunch. So I guess I don't know. I don't know how it works in her school, but that's how the teacher has it. I've seen it on the board or whatever. But And from that list, when I went to see, it was just like most of her class was eating lunch from home. So everybody packs lunch.
Okay.
And I'm like, it's rare. It's like maybe 1 or 2 students that do the school lunch. So I don't know if that's a thing.
Okay.
I don't know. I would have to ask Sienna to see if they make fun of other kids for eating school lunch. But I tried and she hates it.
Ask her. Yeah.
She doesn't like the school lunch.
So she doesn't like the school lunch. Okay.
She's a picky eater. So I make her lunch every day. And that's another thing because I'm like, who's opening this thing? Like if I give her candy, is someone going to be like, what the hell is she feeding her? You know, so I'm just
if you put in like little Debbie bars or something.
Yeah. So I'm just like, God damn it. That's another stressing thing, you know, to stay home and have to make these lunches and stuff. And it's just lunch.
So that's what I was going to say.
Oh my God. It's never ending.
So that's what I was going to say. So because before we like cut off here, what does a typical day look like for you? Because I know it's to the T agenda. You have to wake up at a certain time. You have to get the kids ready. You have to go walk them to the bus stop. You got to do this. You got to prep
well,
the lunch.
Now because
what does it look like for you?
Because Siena's now 5 going to kindergarten. So it's like, I wake up at 6:40, something like that. Much better. I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work before. So yeah. So 6:40 is great. I get sleep. 6:40, I have to get up, and then little one comes up with me because he sleeps with me because he doesn't sleep by himself yet. So we get everybody.
Cuddles.
Yeah, we get everybody up because Vic is already at work at that time. He's already gone.
Oh, really?
Most days he's already gone, and he's already in in the city already by that time. So yeah, and it's great because that way he's not in the way because you know how it's like, man,
you told me about the kitchen stuff,
man, get out of the way.
And they're just trying to help, but you're like, just get out of here.
Because he leaves like the lunch box set up for me and the water bottle, everything visible, so I see it, and I'm not scrambling. He knows I get like crazy in the morning because most of the time I don't wake up at 6:40. I end up waking up like 7:20 and I'm running.
Okay.
She's easy, so I always lay out her clothes the night before. So always like looking at the weather, laying out the clothes, so that way she knows what the hell she's gonna wear, so she doesn't have to go digging through her stuff. And then I get ready, and I have to get fully ready because if I don't get fully ready, I don't come back and I will not get ready, and I'll just be like,
you won't be able to.
So I have to get fully ready.
So do you have time to like shower, brush your teeth?
When Victor's home because I cannot with the kids here. So yeah, I do the evening shower, which is probably better for me because I feel like it de-stresses me and I'm ready for bed and I go to sleep.
Yeah. So what is nighttime? What is nighttime routine? Well, okay, so that's the morning.
Take her to the bus stop, and then after that, I come back, do breakfast with Milo. He'll sit down. I'll set him up with, his iPad while he eats so I can eat and I can drink my coffee because then I can't function. And then whatever it is, after that, we'll either go to the library, walk around, or just continue. I set him up with like paint, whatever activity he wants to do. And then every day is the same thing. Lunch, nap. And then when he naps, I'll try to nap, which is great. Or I'll try to put him down and go downstairs and wash dishes or do something, right? And then by the time he wakes up, Sienna's already coming back home. I set her snacks up because she eats like a monster when she gets home.
So, good. So she started eating again, right?
Yeah.
Like that got better?
I think that's the problem we have. She's picky. But for that, and then in the evening, I have to cook. So I have to set them up again with something to do to keep them entertained, even though Milo likes to join me. So I make sure
to cook and do all that.
If they want to join me, you could join me. I have stools, I have stuff. I'll set out like little measuring cups with the stuff for them to pour in if they want to. Sometimes he'll stir the food at the stove, but I have to keep an eye on him because he likes to throw stuff.
Yeah.
Or he'll feed the dogs.
You'll find like a Lego man or something in the food.
Feed the dogs. And then he'll help me feed the dogs like their actual food, which is nice and all that. And then Vic doesn't show up till about 6:30, I want to say, like almost 6:30 by the time he shows up at home. And then he'll eat. We'll all eat together because I try to wait for him to come home, so he has that. And then I disappear.
That family time.
Disappear, and I become a blur because I'll sit down. I'll either go do knitting, watch the news, watch Jeopardy, which I like to do, and then.
Do you like Wheel of Fortune?
My mom used to like watching that, but I just do Jeopardy, and then after that, TV's off. we start getting them ready for bed, which is my time because he does that.
Okay.
And then I'll go take a shower, relax, read my
your
book, whatever I have to do, and I'll stay hidden.
Okay. Okay. So that's a full-time freaking job. Like what you just described. You wake up at 6:30.
And I don't get any rest till about 6:30, in the evening.
Yeah, until
12
6:30.
hours.
And then even though you're knitting, even though you're watching Jeopardy, you're still thinking, okay, tomorrow, or did Sienna do her homework?
Yeah, that's important. I mean, they don't get that much homework now in kindergarten, thankfully. Okay. They get like one sheet and she does it with Victor, so it's fine. I don't worry about that. He'll pick that up. But then there's days that he does work in the evening, remember?
Yeah.
He'll do
his schedule changed a little bit, yeah.
He does the morning routine and then leaves at 10. And then I'll shower in the morning then. Because then I won't have time to do it in the afternoon. Yeah.
Later on.
Just, that really messed with us a little bit. That change for me, at least. I was just like, my body's like, why am I taking a shower in the morning? Like I get all in the morning, it feels and weird. I'm like, I want to go to sleep. So
you train yourself to have a shower and then go to bed.
Mm-hmm. So that's the long day. And it just repeats and repeats and repeats every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And then not to mention the curveballs if one of the kids gets sick or somebody in the house gets sick on top of all of that, or something happens like the boiler stops working or any of that. Usually
I know how to mess with that stuff. It's funny because I'll look it up and I'll be able to turn it back on or whatever it is. I could troubleshoot it to a point until I need a tech, like an actual tech to come out. Yeah,
to come
I try because I'm very stubborn with that. Like I don't want to shell out money if I don't need to.
If you don't need to, yeah. So I mean, so think of all of that, right? Right. And this is just kind of like I wanted you to go through that day. If you had to hire someone to do these things, that's at least a $60,000 job salary, depending on where you live in the country, right? Because it all depends on the market. So right now, you're saving your household $60,000 a year minimum, right? For you doing all that, and not to mention everything else. But then you also get to be there to watch your kids grow up, to develop. You get to have that time with them. You get to do all of these other things with them, right? That otherwise you would have missed. And so I wanted you to recap all that to remind you of this is why you're using your opportunity and your degree and this break that you're taking in your career to excel in this other career that you've decided to stumble in, and to like go into. And I'm getting emotional talking about it.
Giselle has spoken.
Because we just don't give each other enough credit. And like, you just talked about a full day, and Victor wouldn't be able to do his job if you weren't there doing that.
Literally were going to tell me your dad would not be able to do that. Yes, that's right. My dad would not be able to sit here and do any of this. No, not at all.
I have no doubt about it, but I also don't know your dad, so I don't want to misspeak.
I can't even leave him with the kids for like 10 minutes because they did like a number on me the last time I tried to let him watch them.
Yeah. I think you told me about that. You told me it was like chaos in the weekend. But those are the things that I want you or any other stay-at-home mom that is thinking about that. Recap your day. Like your husband or whoever it is that's around you, your wife, your husband, your partner, whatever is around you, sees everything. Hopefully they see everything that you do and acknowledge and appreciate the things that you do. Because if you didn't do that, if you didn't pick up that part of the responsibilities, they wouldn't be able to go off to work and bring in money every day. And if you would have been going off to work, you would have still had to pay somebody else to do it. So why would you, if you have the option to stay home, you have this ability to do that. Why would you pay for a stranger to be in your house during 8 hours a day at least to do all of these things when you could do it yourself and be at peace knowing that your kids are well taken care of and you're not missing those moments? And so I just want you to kind of take that in because that got me really upset. I felt so bad. I did not expect you. I didn't know. And now it makes sense why this episode was so hard to record. But I know there's a lot more people out there that do feel that way too. That kind of feel like, what am I doing? Am I, and have people around them that kind of put it in that negative way because they don't get it. and it's not their life. So, but it sucks that it's like coming from your parent that tells you that. But you are managing your household and you're making sure that everybody's alive and well and everything is functioning as it should be. And that right there, like, you're putting your skills at work and you're sharpening them in different ways.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Take that.
Even though sometimes I feel like my brain's going to mush just doing stuff here sometimes.
But look at you. You're doing the podcast. You're running this house. And you're really creative. People don't know, but Amy does the promo clips, not the clips, the advertising things, which I can't do. I would need to hire somebody to do that, like, which I don't have money to do. But like, those are all things that you were like, I don't know how to do this yet, but I'm going to figure it out. Like, you figured that out, you know? And so these are things that you have to kind of take a moment to give yourself a little bit more credit for, and shut that voice up.
Energy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I still look at you as Superwoman, and you know, just doing everything that you do, because it's not easy. But anyway, I think
we actually made it to the 1 hour mark. I'm surprised because it was kind of like, okay. Yeah, no, because I was having the most trouble with this episode, like I said before. So I'm glad we were able to talk about it and get it out there. And hopefully people can kind of like listen and be like, okay, I feel that way. Or even if you didn't, you know, you still see a little bit of our story and how we're dealing with things. Yeah.
Which, again, both of our, like, you're home. I am home also. But I added on this other responsibility that I'm just like, I don't even know. Like, I question myself if I'm excelling in this role or not. And I do the same thing with motherhood. So
you're doing fine.
I feel like,
I think if you know what it is, if you're doing bad, you would know. You would already know that. You know how they say bad news just travels faster? Yeah, you would already know. So you're doing great.
All right. See, I needed to hear that.
I mean, everyone's doing great.
Well, thank you. This is, I guess this is it for the episode. Yes. Thank you everyone for listening. And if you want to comment, share your story about your experience being a stay-at-home mom, or just a mother decided to also tack on another job. This is because I don't know what other way to phrase it. I don't know what other title to put it as still.
We'll work on something.
But yeah, feel free to comment, share, and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.